Hello, are we live? Oh my gosh, I'm live. Okay, so I apologize. I was supposed to go live on YouTube, but unfortunately, um, I guess you're supposed to request that 24 hours in advance, and I did not do that. So we're going live on Facebook instead. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of the photo booth industry. I have 12 years of experience with the photo booth industry, and there are definitely tons and tons and tons of pros. But there are a few cons, and the cons that I like to talk about today are ones that I don't think people think about as they're approaching starting a photo booth business. Obviously, this is my first time going live, so I'm not expecting a bunch of people to join me, but this will go into some type of an archive. And hopefully, you guys will get some good tips and some insights if you're looking to start a photo booth business. All right, I'm trying to find my notes here. Here we go. Actually, I went ahead and got myself a bottle of wine. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock here. I live in Napa. Oops. Everything is mirrored on here, so it's a little bit different. I'm used to having the same mirrored image. So if I go left, it's my right, etc. So this is Trefethen, which is a winery here in Yountville, California. Yountville is about, I don't know, like 8 miles, I would say north of Napa. It is the cutest little town. It reminds me of Disneyland for adults. So cheers. If you have a glass of wine, let me know what you're drinking. If not, water's just fine. If not, let me know what you're cooking, let me know what you're eating, etc. Oh, delicious. So this is a very this is called a Petite Verdot, and it's from 2019. It's estate grown. It's Oak Knoll district of Napa, California, or Napa Valley, and it's a family-owned vineyard. And I really love their wine, so I wanted to give them a shout out. This is not a paid subscription or whatever you call it, it's paid sponsor. I'm just a wino, so enjoy. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and dive in. So pros. Let's talk about the amazing pros of owning a dang photo booth business. It's so much fun. First one up front is the low startup costs. In comparison to other businesses, starting a photo booth business is going to be more relatively affordable. I mean, we're talking, in comparison to restaurants and, other businesses that others have thought of in the past. The reason I say low startup costs is because it is just that. It's a low startup cost. That does not mean that you won't have higher costs in the future. But in order to, get going and get started, you really don't need very much. A lot of people think, oh, I've got to buy my booth and then I've got, you know, a website and then I'm good to go. And yes, you can get started on that, but you're going to start to see that in order to grow and scale your business, you're going to have to partner with other, what do you call it? Like services. For example, a CRM, which is a way to, manage your customer relations. And I love using my CRM. I started my business in 2012, but I didn't start using a CRM until the end of 2014, but really it was 2015. So I went almost 3 years without my CRM, and I can't tell you the difference that it's made in my personal business. And I know that that goes for tons and tons of other businesses as well. Other costs that will come up are obviously, paper and ink. But as you get going, you're going to start to see that people want specific backdrops. They're going to want certain styles, and you're going to want to be able to offer a lot more. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to buy that to offer it. You can offer something and not purchase it until you've actually booked it. And that goes for businesses too. I recently just rebranded my business. So when I restarted, I I did my website. I had my website done. I had it done by Booth Website, which is Dave Bevan. He's over there in the UK, but he does websites geared specifically for photo booths. Um, and his SEO skills are unmatched. So you can literally just get a website, put, stock images of photo booths on there. You can get great stock photos from photo booth marketing. Photo booth marketing, I will explain later what that is, but they have incredible stock images and videos, both landscape and portrait. And when you're a part of their membership, you get, a certain amount of tokens each month or credits. I can't remember if they call it tokens or credits, but I think it's tokens. And then you exchange those tokens for videos or photos or ebooks or I have tons and tons of stuff that you can learn from. So, Photo Booth Edit also has a monthly subscription for their stock photos. I personally have used photo booth marketing for my website, but I've also used some of my own images. I think it's really important to do that. But when you're just starting out and you have nothing to start with, start there. You can also get some really good, I think, good photo booth images. Excuse me. I'm just getting over being sick. Last week it was horrible, but I'm feeling better now, so I apologize. But you can get really good stock photos from the Photo Booth Edit. She's got a really cool monthly deal, and the style of them is different. But what I was going to say is I have also gotten a lot of free, I consider it free because I pay the monthly thing, but it's not free, is Canva. Canva has tons of photo booth images and videos, as well as Adobe Express. I've had a, what do you call it? Like a stock image subscription. I almost said prescription. Subscription with them for the last 6 months. And I feel like, I've gotten some good stuff from them too. But, sadly, the photo booth, and I'm not going to say sadly because this is both a pro and a con, in my opinion, is the photo booth industry is like only in its toddler stage. So a pro of that is there is so much, what is the word that I'm looking for? So much potential to grow in this industry. But the con of that is not everybody really knows what a photo booth can actually do. Like the cutting edge, at the being on the cutting edge of technology and knowing what you can offer and being able to express that to your client is one of my biggest, I would say, hurdles. It's just really difficult. So, and I say that because everybody has different communication styles, right? So if I make a video showcasing AI, and I send it to someone and it's, a minute or two, but they don't really, consume information that way. They'd rather ask questions or get on the phone with me or do a Zoom call. Or, some people prefer just an email. They don't need to go through this whole meeting stuff and all that, So it's a little bit tricky. But yeah, so the low startup cost, I kind of went into like 5 or 6 other pros on that. But the next pro I would say is high profit margins. You are your business owner, and that's the most beautiful thing in the world. That's freedom to me. And in so many ways, not just, freedom to make as much money as you can or the potential to make so much money, but also to free up your time and, free up your energy. And I don't know if you're anything like me, but the 8 to 5, having to wake up and be somewhere every single day is not something that my body is usually conducive to. I like slow mornings and the freedom to be able to help my family out when they need me and all that stuff. So, high profit margins. You can set your own profit. The biggest issue So here I am going back to a con. Is every pro has a con to it, I think. So the biggest issue though is I find that people don't break down their costs. They don't set a budget, and they don't really make a profit. Like they're not, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. 2012, yes, I had my associate's degree in business, but I didn't really have hands-on experience. So it's kind of like learning through the hard knocks, the school of hard knocks, or whatever they call it. Also, I think that we've got some viewers on here. So hello to you guys who are on here. I appreciate you guys being here. If you want to leave a comment, you have any questions, go ahead. I can see them and I can answer them in real time, which is why I'm doing this. Not that you have to leave a comment. Don't feel pressured. I'm just letting you know that I'm here to help you. So the high profit margins, people, I think, not going to say people, I'm going to speak for myself. 2012, I went to a wedding, my cousin's wedding, and I was dragging, this cousin is from Chicago, so she brought all of her family and friends to California for her wedding. And she's got 4 or 5, I think there's 5 altogether, so 4 brothers and sisters. And these are my cousins that I don't get to see all the time. And this is in 2012 in May, and I'm dragging my uncle, my cousins, my aunt, my noni, everybody. I'm dragging them to the photo booth all night long. This is the first time I've ever been to a wedding with a photo booth. And I got home afterwards. I was like, oh my gosh, I could totally do this. A month later, I was in business. Long story short. So what I'm trying to say is I bought my booth, and a month later I was in business. I knew that I couldn't charge. I actually did not know what to charge right away. I knew that I wanted to charge, or I knew that I wanted to make $150 an hour because I was a single mom with 4 boys. And, $150 an hour was like, back then was like a whole day of working minimum wage. So that was like a big deal to me. And then as I started doing more events and everything, and I started to realize like, oh, my costs are going up. I have to buy new backdrops. I can't have the same backdrop every single time. I want to show, some diversity, et cetera, et cetera. So, and this was before pillowcase backdrops. It was only drapes, and later on I remember getting a sequin one, and it like changed my life. But anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because I started charging more, and then I started getting more expenses. And I'm like, okay. So I started to just recently look into different pricing models. And, I think it's both the most freeing thing to have your own business, but it's also very scary because we don't know what we're doing when we start out, and we have to learn through at least I did. I didn't have a lot of support. There wasn't a lot of photo booth businesses out there. So, and I didn't make a good profit. That's what I'll just say. So setting, like, my advice would be to read up on profit margins and, different styles of pricing. There are books on these things. There are YouTube videos on these things, and not everybody is going to be comfortable with the type of pricing strategies that other people use. So this is something that I consider a pro, but within our industry, because of the low startup costs, I think that there's that mentality of like, oh, well, I can just charge $150 an hour. I'm going to make, $450. But once you go and you set up and you're working an hour, then you work 3 hours, and then another 30 minutes to 45 minutes to take down. And then you start paying employees, and it's like, oh, yeah, I'm really only getting like $75 for all this work. So that is pro, but it could be a con. So my suggestion is give yourself a good profit margin. Make 50%, make 35%, make 75% profit. You get to decide, and that's the beauty of owning your own business. So I already talked about the flexible schedule, which was my next one. There's always a high demand for events, weddings, corporate events, and parties. Photo booths are really popular now, and there's so many different options that are available: 360s, glam, just a regular DSLR with prints, without prints. Sorry, my glasses are glaring, but I need them to read. So yeah, we've got a high demand for at events. Corporate is my favorite. They pay the most, and it's really fun to be like creative marketing with corporate, because they understand the value of marketing. And when you can have those conversations with other marketers, that for me, it just stirs my like passion pot, like, I'm so excited to work with other creative minds and doing something different. And the more you do, not the more you do, the more creative and the more value you can offer, the more the higher your pricing. So that's why I prefer corporate events. Weddings I like. It just depends on the wedding, to be honest with you. Napa here has a lot of high luxury end weddings, but they also have regular, going to City Hall at San Francisco weddings, and then having a reception, somewhere else. I love those weddings too. And then what else? Oh, quinceañeras. I was going to say quinceañeras are my favorite. Mexican women always, at least for me, they always send me home with enough food to feed me and a total army for the rest of the week. So highly recommend that. What else? Okay, opportunities for creativity. That was another pro, and I've already talked about it. It says here, from custom backdrops to branded photo options, there's ample room to get creative and add unique touches to your services. Social media integration. This was something that I learned really, really early on, and is that your photo booth markets itself. It is literally a marketing machine. Therefore, anywhere you post, what do I think? Oh, hi, Janrix. I hope I said your name right. What do I think about market events? What do you mean by market events? Like setting up at a farmer's market? Is that what you mean? If so, I would say that, okay, I did one once. I actually did, let me think, what was it called? It was up in Reading. And what I did was I set up, this was the only time I've ever done this. And I feel like this question is asked all the time in the Facebook group. If you're going to set up somewhere and you charge per photo. And my experience with that was I did set up at a market and I charged $3 a photo. And I left after like 3 or 4 hours with $72. That was back in like 2013 when I first started. I recently saw a YouTube video of somebody who set up they set up a photo booth on the corner of the street, and they charged, or no, they didn't charge. They just put a tip jar out, and they also had, I think, about 70 something bucks. And that has always been my experience. I do not know why, if I put a tip jar out or if I charge, and I only overcharged that one time. It's always around $70 to like $100. I'm gonna turn this light on here so I've got a little bit more light. There we go. You see that love sign in the back? I'm all about it. So it's good exposure if you can get in front of people that you can have the conversation, but it's not ever a good like money making decision. Those markets that I talked about before brought out a lot of community members, and it was a small town, and I kind of looked at it more like I was giving back, I guess. And since I was there, but I will tell you when, I mean, I can't remember if anybody actually was like, how much is it? And I said $3, and they were like, okay, never mind. But I do know that when they walk up to your photo booth and it's like, how much is your photo booth? And you say, oh, it's nothing, it's free. The experience that they have and the feeling that they get when that happens is worth not charging $3 a photo, if that makes any sense. It's like attaching the emotion to your service is everything. That's what's going to get people to book with you. So it's like, it's kind of like, studying for me, like studying Walt Disney was a big thing for me because he's so creative and he always thought about like, the experience and the feeling that people would get and all that. So it's like, you'll start to see as you grow and as you not as you grow, as you do event after event after event, you're going to learn the quirks and just for me, it was like I just constantly was taking in information and analyzing that and fitting it into my business any way that I could. An example would be when I would do those community events, some of them, not that one in particular, but many of them I was paid to do by the community or by a business or a radio station, etc. But those large ones where, it's like a outdoor event in the middle of downtown and people are coming by and, they're drinking and all that stuff. Those get you incredible exposure. I mean, and you can use so much of that stuff for marketing. It's great. But it's all about just kind of like how they feel. And that to me was a big no-brainer in me never ever charging per photo because I love telling people that my experience is free. Somebody else paid for it and they get to experience it. So I hope that answers your question. It's kind of just your mindset. More pros, more pros. Let's talk about scalability. This business can scale up additional photo booths, new equipment like 360s or mirror booth, and added services. So the technology that we're experiencing right now is just constant, like it's constantly changing. And I'm having a hard time keeping up with it, especially in the photo booth world. And being able to constantly add new services like AI, which is ChatGPT has only really been out for less than 2 years. And now we're pumping out AI photos and face swap, generative AI, and all kinds of stuff. Venticular, what do you call it? Venticular, or is it lenticular? I think it's lenticular prints, where you can do like an animated GIF and then it shows up as a kind of a hologramish. I think that's what we used to call them as kids, those baseball cards that were kind of like a hologram. But anyway, you can scale your business so much that you just keep adding on services. You got guest books. You can do digital guest books. You can do digital props. You can do regular props. All kinds of stuff. You can do customized backdrops, customized props, customized wrap on your photo booth. All kinds of stuff that you can add on to make your to scale your business and make more profit. So I'm going to hop into the cons. Oh, no. I've got more pros down here. I forgot. More pros. So repeat business opportunities. Many clients, especially corporate ones who do recurring events, create a steady source of repeat business. One of my clients that I have had for well over a decade is a casino, and they do events all the time. I am their go-to photo booth person. For one, I've been with them for so long, even though I've moved away, they were willing to pay a little bit extra for me to come up there to do their events because the other photo booth businesses in town aren't returning their calls, they said. So I'll keep them, I guess. So I love my repeats. They are the world to me. And I have one here in Napa as well. And I just treat them like they're my ultimate favorite clients in the world because they are, I know that when Easter comes around, I'm going to be doing an Easter egg hunt with the kids that have been coming to my photo booth for the last 10 years. So it's really exciting when you can build those relationships with other people and then they become kind of like family in a way. Add-on revenue streams. I already talked about that. Growing trend in corporate branding. Companies often use photo booths for branding and social media engagement, making it appealing for corporate clients and sponsored events. Kind of already talked about that too. Low inventory needs, always good because, you know, you don't have to have a storefront. You don't have to have a lot of space for your photo booth business. Although as you scale and as you grow, you will. I've got a nice sized storage unit that holds my stuff. However, I will say that I can put 3 photo booths in my car, which is amazing to me because the first couple of photo booths that I had, I was driving a minivan and that thing was filled if I had 2 photo booths going on at the same time. No room for kids. Even the front seat had that box of props, let me tell you. I think I have pictures of that somewhere. It's, I'm not going to say that one because I don't agree. It says it's easy to train staff, but no. it's, it's not hard to train staff, but it's not easy to keep them around, I will say. Networking potential. I love this one because I've met so many cool people in the photo booth industry. I did this one event with Megan Rapinoe, who I consider to be one of the best soccer players in the entire world. Some people disagree, but she's from my hometown, and I did a 6-hour event with her where she took photos with all of her fans. And that was an incredible experience. It was just me and her for like 6 hours straight. And at the very end, I got to take a picture with her, and she gave me a hug and called me or said that we were the real MVPs. So we stuck it out. 4 photos each person she did. It was amazing. They finally had to cut the line. I think people kept coming, kept going, and kept coming. So, the networking potential is incredible. I know, it's not just about famous people, but I've done a lot of events where, people like that have come into my photo booth and it's just fun. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I know you. You look familiar. I've seen you on TV. But just in June, I did an event where I took pictures for a school, and one of the kids' parents was Tamara Mowry from Sister Sister. And so I did take a selfie with her as well. That stuff I think is just pretty cool. I know that I have a colleague over in Atlanta. I know she did I can't remember who it was, but she had a hip hop rapper party, like an after party that she did. And that kind of stuff is just fun. So it's a fun and positive environment, freedom to choose your own niche. There's a lot of pros. So I'm going to get to the cons now. We're about 30 minutes in, so hopefully it doesn't take 30 minutes to get through the cons, but there are some. Excuse me. Biggest issue, I would say, that many people don't take into consideration is technical issues. Camera malfunctions, software bugs, technology issues, and troubleshooting can, be very difficult if you're not trained or you don't have much experience. So it's definitely something to keep in mind when you're, got another question. Okay. So what should I buy next for a reinvestment to my business? 360 or a mirror booth? Neither. My suggestion is to wait until you get a request for either of those. Mirror booths and 360s are huge and they are heavy and a lot, a lot of work. Not to say that you can't do it. I'm not trying to dissuade you from that. What I'm trying to say is get a deposit from somebody before you buy the equipment. That way, you know, first off, that they're paying for at least a portion of your booth. And then that way, you know that these clients are going to, rebook these services. I can't tell you how many times I get inquiries for mirror booths and 360s and they don't book. I charge more because they are so heavy and they are so heavy. They take up a lot of room. Oh man. And they're fun and they're beautiful. But yeah, it just, it's one of those things that when you first start your business, you're so excited. You're like, I want all these things. It's gonna be so great. But then you end up with all these things and not necessarily everybody's using them. I remember when I first started, I bought a green screen and I used it at an event and everybody loved it. I didn't charge for it because, I was trying to showcase it basically. And I never booked it after that. Nobody nobody wanted to really pay the add-on. And, it was kind of the market that I was in and I might not have sold it very well, but it also ended up being kind of a pain in the rear for me too, because if you get someone who wears a green shirt or if you're doing blue screen and somebody wears a blue shirt, then it's like a pain in the ass. She says, ha ha ha, gotta be a real bodybuilder before you start getting your money back. It's so true. I was doing CrossFit for like 3 years and I didn't have a mirror booth or a 360, but the photo booths that I started out with, what was like two DJ cases and the bottom one was 122 pounds, I think. And the top part was like 65. So every time I put the top part on that thing, it was like doing what do you call it? A squat lift without the squat. I guess it was just a jerk or whatever. Not a jerk. I don't even remember. But yes, it is a lot of work. And it gets to that point where you end up in those weird venues too, where you can't fit anything into it. And you're like, okay, you hired this mirror booth and now I can't really fit it anywhere. Or like, oh, there's an elevator you can take. And then you get to the elevator and the elevator like only has enough room for one person. Not necessarily a ton of equipment. So hopefully that answers your question. But regardless of whether it's a mirror booth or 360, I say that with anything. Wait till you get a contract with that stuff in it before you buy anything. Even backdrops. You can put backdrops up on your website through some of the backdrop companies, and then people can choose which backdrop they want. And then if it's a backdrop you don't have, one, you could see if somebody in your area has it, you could borrow it. Two, you could buy it with the money that they gave you, which if you mark it up, you're making a profit off of that. So hopefully that works. Yes, photo booth owners are the real gym pros. We are the real gym pros and the real MVPs. I love it. So technical issues, obviously transportation, I included in there, heavy equipment, seasonality. This is such a seasonal business. Like right now is the season to own a photo booth business. Christmas, like from September, late August is when I usually start to get leads. And then by the end of September, October, starting to get bookings, for Christmas and all these holiday parties. How much should I pay my employees? That's a good question. It just depends on, I would say, your area and their experience. I personally pay really well just because I want them to do a good service for me. Plus, I usually use my kids and they've been trained. But I have used somebody who wasn't trained recently, and I paid her, let me think, for 3 hours. I paid her $100, and I met her that morning. I met her that morning. She was like helping at an event. And then I asked her, hey, I've got another event this evening. You did such a great job. Can you do this exact same thing? So I paid her $100 just to show up and just to do photos. Now, with my children who have over a decade of experience of setting up the photo booth, customer service, getting reviews, and like really top notch, I pay them like $300. But I charge enough to do that, and it's well worth the peace of mind knowing that they're going to do a stellar job and they're going to get me reviews and my clients are going to be happy. So yeah, kind of just, I do have a YouTube video on my YouTube. I think I put the links on here somewhere for my YouTube video. Oh yeah, I did do some like polls and things. I don't know how to set this up. And some questions too. But that's just a rough guesstimate. But like I said, as they stick around, like that's the hard part. Once they stick around and you got to find what motivates your employees, I think. My kids got to the point where money didn't motivate them anymore. So it was like, I'll buy you food. I'll do whatever. Please help me. I'm just kidding. Excuse me. So yeah, seasonality is big. So this is the time. January is going to hit and it's going to be probably super duper dead for many, many of you. And that's okay. This is the time. Just remember to hold on to some of your funds from this boom Christmas time. Big, what do you call it? Like season. And then save some of that funds to cover your costs for January, February, March. And you'll start to get some more bookings around that time. March is when wedding season starts. And speaking of wedding season, people start getting engaged and starting Thanksgiving. So getting some of your marketing materials ready for wedding season now can already prepare you for when the dead season comes in January and February. So you'll already have all that marketing stuff going. And then the bridal shows hit and, the rest is history. So it really just depends on your niche, what kinds of events you're doing, who you're marketing to, etc. So during those tough seasons, there are other options to have a sip of wine. There are other options than just weddings and corporate. Although corporate is like year round, obviously more events take place in the summer or in the warmer seasons. So, which months are wedding season? Wedding season starts, I would say March, like March 23rd. That's my birthday. Shameless plug. But I've had weddings on my birthday. So, or I've at least, yeah, I've done weddings on my birthday. I don't think I've done anything earlier than that, but that's pretty early for a wedding. I would say most weddings are May, June, July-ish, but like a lot of July is dead because people are on vacation. And I really suggest taking a vacation for yourself in July or August. Although I've had quite a few bookings in August before, but it just depends. Like I say this is a seasonal industry, but like it could change every year. The event industry changes. So, yeah, so I would say marketing for weddings from, the end of Thanksgiving, maybe even just Christmas, because a lot of people don't want the stress between during the shopping season. But going full on right after Christmas and New Year's for wedding season is good, but other options would be trade shows. What other options? Quinceañeras are big. I don't know. I'm sure that there's some more other options. I'm just drawing a blank. How do you get wedding leads? I feel like I have to change my whole aesthetic for weddings. To be honest with you, you probably might. I know, I feel like I know that you're brand newbie to this business, or I think, yes, you're brand newer. And so I'm not, you could easily do two different brands. But I know people that do two different brands. And I think you're right. It is such a different aesthetic, like because your target market is brides, right? So you want to catch their eye. They're looking for a certain aesthetic. They're looking for something that they resonate with. And if they're constantly looking at corporate stuff or birthday parties or quinceañeras, it's kind of like, yeah, those are great, but that's not what I want for my wedding. And totally understand that. I personally haven't split my brand, only for the simple fact that I'm not a big wedding person. So I prefer corporate and I prefer people who, that's not to say that I would deny a wedding by any means. I just don't target that audience. But if that's what you want weddings, I would definitely consider splitting brands, but I don't think that you would need to do that right away. I'm going to recommend that you check out Catalina Block's. Let me see if I can find I'm going to put her website in the chat for you, Dan Ricks, so that you can check her out because she has split her branding. There we go. Photoboothmastery.catalinablock.com. She has split her branding to where she has, it looks like she has two different photo booth businesses, but one of them is photo booths specifically for weddings and one specifically for corporate or any other events. I hope that helps answer your question. Do you have more questions, Dan Ricks? I'm totally happy to answer them for you. I can go through some of these other cons as well. So let me see here. So like ongoing marketing is always needed with this. I even though I say like photo booth industry, like your photo booth business markets itself, there is, did I lose it? There is a need to constantly market your business if you're constantly doing one-offs. That's why I like my repeat customers. I really put in the time and effort to make relationships with people so that they do repeat business with me. That's not to say that I won't take a one-off. Of course I will. And I love, I've had people who I've done weddings for just once and they still message me and they're still a part of my newsletter and things like that. When you're a part of someone's special day and you create such a memorable experience, you can see that you'll start to build those types of relationships with people, and those brides end up, sometimes getting jobs, and not sometimes, obviously, most people have jobs, but if they're at a job where they have events, which that's another one I was gonna say is staff parties, like other events like staff parties or community events for government facilities. For example, I used to work for Health and Human Services, and they used to do like an annual smokeout. It's something that took place in the 1990s when quitting smoking cigarettes was a big deal. And the cigarette companies were taxed tons and tons of dollars to provide education for communities against the dangers of smoking. And the money that comes through for local health and human services for marketing and getting the word out and educating the community, it's a lot. It is a lot. So finding government agencies like that, you could just reach out to your local public health and get in contact with somebody in the tobacco department. That's all you have to say. And then you explain your services and just let them know, hey, I know you've got money to spend and I want to help you do it in a creative and fun way. And they'll love it. And so they do that. There's other kinds of events like that too. So guest damage to equipment. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but I have had a couple of instances where during the event, one time I was at a community event and I was plugged into a plug that I was told would be reserved just for me. And somebody who was running a food truck plugged their entire food truck into the outlet that I was using and fried my computer, which would now be a tablet, which is what I use. But before I used a touchscreen computer. And so it fried my equipment. And that was like a really huge event where I was doing, green screen, and it was just going to be so awesome. I had this major activation, but my photo booth was fried. I had to get a whole new computer and I had to cancel an event that I had the following week because I didn't have a replacement in time. It was really, really bad. So that was my lesson, to get double of everything. I bought another photo booth. I bought it used just as kind of a backup. But always having an extra tablet, an iPad, all the extra cords, like you just never know what's going to happen. I've had my camera break in the middle of an event. I've and have had to go to Best Buy thinking I made profit off of this event, which, even if it's profit and it goes into buying another camera, it just was kind of a bummer because I had to go and buy a $500 camera in the middle of an event, come back and hook it up, and then I had to stay late so that I can make up for that time. So really taking into consideration the technical difficulties and the damage to equipment. I had a lady fall and bump right into my photo booth, and the photo booth fell. It didn't break the usage of the photo booth, but there was like a crack in my box. Remember the one I was telling you about earlier? So there are things that happen, and just being really well prepared doesn't always work, but it helps. Event venue restrictions. So I think somebody had posted earlier that they were going to, on the Photo Booth Network or Photo Booth Community Facebook page, about how they were going to, or they were thinking about buying a confetti machine. And I was just thinking, like, there's just no way that venues would allow that, at least here in Napa. There's lots of wineries and just places that are really big sticklers about those kinds of things. They look really cool in the 360 booth. I've seen people with like the make it rain money guns, which is different, I think, than a confetti machine. But, those things have to be run by the venue. And if you show up and you start using a confetti machine without anybody's permission, you won't be able to probably set up at that venue anymore. So it just depends. It really does. But 360s, I was going to say, is starting to get some buzz in the insurance world. And so I would definitely talk to your insurance company before buying a 360 booth as well, because I was shopping around for insurance the other day, and my bank, which is USAA, it's a military bank, and they were like, "Do you own a 360 photo booth?" On their general questionnaire, and I've never seen that before. So I didn't fill out the thing. So I didn't, if I did, they said I would have to talk to somebody. And I'm assuming that means that my premium would be higher. And I'm curious to see what that is. So I will probably give them a call this next week to see what that is all about. I think that is it for the pros and cons. But yeah, for me, I love it. It's fits my personality. I enjoy serving people. I enjoy creating fun events, and I enjoy just watching people light up and play, like when we were little kids and our teachers would say, or we'd hear the bell and it's like, oh, it's recess time. And it just, all of a sudden, the noise level just gets high, and it's a high vibrating energy of excitement. It's like you run out to the playground. It's like, I want to be the first one to get on the swings or the bars or whatever. And it's like to see somebody, a grown adult, I mean, the kids do it too, but it's just even more fun when it's a grown adult that walks into a party and is like, a photo booth, let's go. You can see it in their eyes every single event. Not everybody gets excited, not everybody participates, but the ones that my people, our people, they participate. So that is something that I feel like is such a gift to be able to provide to other people in a world where people are just so dang serious all the time. And I remember the first holiday parties I did, the first December, and we did a medical office, and the doctor like had his staff pick him up, and he was like, lay down. I'm sure, many of you have had that experience now, but I just remember thinking it in my first year, like, how amazing. These people aren't in the photo booth, like outside of the photo booth, he's the doctor, that's his employees and all this stuff. But inside the photo booth, it's just pure play and so fun. And nobody has these labels, and we're just kids again. And that's something that I think that the world needs. And so, yeah. Danrix, did you have any other questions? It's just me and you, kid. I'm here for you. But don't hesitate, because any questions that you have, anybody else is going to want to hear. And I'm going to be saving this and posting it on my YouTube tomorrow, and it will stay on the Facebook Facebook page as well. So if not, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Such a great conversation. I hope that you enjoyed yourself, Danrix. Thanks for joining me. All right. I'm going to say good night. Bye.